Hi and welcome. This is the first video about MuhRec. I am Anders Kestner, I'm a beamline scientist at Porsche Institute and I develop scientific software for in particular neutron imaging. In this video I will shortly explain what computed tomography is and then I will introduce the CT reconstruction tool MuhRec. Finally we'll also show some main views of MuhRec to give you an introduction to the software. The real world is three-dimensional and many questions can only be answered by looking inside an object. Cutting is usually not allowed as it would damage the object. For example, this statue, I don't think they would appreciate if we cut it into two pieces. Computed tomography is a method to obtain three-dimensional images of the object and allows you to cut it into pieces in the computer. Computed tomography is done in two steps. First, you have to obtain many radiographs from different sides of the sample. These radiographs don't show this 3D volume yet, but after the second step, which is transforms the object into a volume, you can start looking into the 3D information. This brings us to MuhRec, which is a CT reconstruction software that provides a graphical user interface allowing the user to configure the reconstruction. The tool was developed while we came across different problems during our experiments at PSI, and new features are added all the time. It is also a flexible tool that allows the users to configure the processing and reconstruction to fit their needs. This may require some understanding, but it's possible to learn step by step when you use the tool. The source code was published as open source to allow full insight in the processing and to make it possible to contribute to the development. Open source tools also increase the transparency in how the data was treated and when it's published. Finally, MuhRec is a multi-platform tool which is released for Windows, Mac OS and Ubuntu Linux. Now let's take a look at the different views of MuhRec. In the new release we have changed a lot on the user interface, therefore I think it makes sense to walk through the views that you will work with. When you start MuhRec you see the main view. What you see here is actually taken in the middle of the action where data set was already reconstructed. In MuhRec you have a main application menu on the top. You have some viewers to the right, and the main thing are the projection the tabs for the configuration. In these tabs you can provide information to reconstruct your projection data, and I will now walk you through the different tabs without going to depth on how to use them. The first tab you see is the projection data tab. Here you can select projection files and references for the normalization. So here you have the projection files and here you have the references. You can also select regions of interest. For example, here you have the projection region of interest, which is orange, and you have the dose normalization region, which is green. You can also set the pixel size for projections, which is essential, and then you can provide some project description which is actually just information to help you remember. Next step is to look at the reconstruction geometry, where you can select the slices to reconstruct. You can also select the acquisition angles, so the scan arc that you used for the acquisition. You can also sometimes set start and stop angle, and then you can select the axis of rotation. Once you have the geometry, you can start selecting algorithms. One part is for the pre-processing, which you have normalization, projection filtering, but you can also select the reconstruction algorithm. On the last tab, you finally see the results, where you can see, for example, here the reconstructed slice. You can see the gray level interval, which you can set to different regions, and you can see directly the effect of it. You can also select which rotation you want, and if you want to crop, you can mark that in a region here and get that. Finally, as a last step, you can also save the output as different file formats. For example, here it's selected 16-bit TIFF. In this tutorial we have been looking at why we need CT reconstruction and in particular the different components of the reconstruction software MuhRec. In this overview we didn't go through the steps you need to reconstruct the projection dataset. This will be the topic of next tutorial. See you then.